Oh, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the counselor's office. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor, and we are live in the counselor's. No, we're not live. We're not live. I just got done recording and doing live streaming with Oblivion Remastered. Fantastic game. Never experienced it before. Having a ball. But scholars, we're going back on the train. That's right. We're going back on the pain train of Marathon because why not? It is new news. And until we get new news on Destiny, and I'm still working on the episode heresy, brutally honest review. For now, things are kind of they're non-existent news currently with Destiny. So outside of that, we're chilling with Marathon. So we're doing more reacts. And I've never heard this person, Vera Dark Titan Media. Marathon's alpha is a nightmare. Gamers wreck OP aim assist and Oblivion Expedition 33 overshadow it. That's what the end part is what caught me off guard, because it's very true that we'll talk about it. She's probably gonna talk about it, but we'll definitely talk about it. I don't know who she is. Premium what? Anyways, I don't know what the premium bitrate is, but here we are.
Bungie, not only did they have to compete with the Oblivion Remastered Shadow Drop and Clair Obscur Expedition 33's massive release, but their closed alpha is already going terribly because gamers are wrecking it with some of the decisions they made with things like aim assist, and the player counts are terrible. But before I get into the top,
I'm sorry. Listen, I'm all for criticism, and I'm all about what you're throwing down. What do you mean player counts? It's an alpha. They're giving out codes. What what do you mean? Are you saying, is she implying that the everyone that was allowed to play, almost all of them are not playing anymore? Okay, half if you're being generous. Almost all of them here at this moment, but as the moment of she's recording, it's like half of them have just dipped out. Okay, if that's what you're implying, but this is just a closed beta or a alpha. Sorry, it's not. It should be in beta. It's a closed alpha right now. So I don't know how I feel about jumping in and using that as a criticism. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like there's a lot more to criticize. And I know I'm harping on this, but I just want to make it very clear that I am very critical, but I'm also I'm realistic. And so when I give criticism about Marathon, I'm not just trying to spit out, anything I can to dog on it. I just point out what is available to dog on it because it exists on its own. I'm not trying to find reasons. It's already there. I feel like trying to talk about player counts on an alpha is really trying to dig you see, it's not everyone has access. If you're talking about Twitch viewership, that's completely different, which we will talk about. I don't know if she will, but I will.
If you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, a few weeks ago, when we heard that this alpha was going to happen, it sounded...
I just want to point out, she just threw her stuff. I wish I was clean like that. She's like a news reporter, do this, do this, do this. It takes me an hour just to get through, check the Discord, subscribe to the channel,
Sounded like they just wanted for shills to praise it, to stream it on Twitch and put up videos on YouTube and create some content to hopefully drum up some hype, but they changed their mind at the last minute because people were wrecking them for that. Why would you only give codes to people who cannot be trusted, people who you are basically handing premium access to? It's just not easy to take those people seriously.
I think that's a fair argument, and I said it about the pre-release. I said it at release of the reveal. Everyone that is hyping this game up is a Bungie shill / they're in bed of Bungie and or has ties with Bungie. No one trusts these people, but what you can trust, if we go to stats, let's just go to stats real quick. if we go to stats, we have Marathon. It is a Saturday. It is the weekend where people are off. Huh. Isn't that crazy? It's the weekend, and this is the viewership. Granted, you don't have like all these other Destiny players playing the game, which you could argue, is it Marathon exciting enough on its own where people want to watch, or are they only watching it because Frostboat's playing it or Astacross is playing it? I mean, Shroud the other day was playing it. And honestly, as soon as a streamer logs off and the number, like almost half the number disappears, is it really excitement for the game, or are people just there for the ride of watching their favorite streamer? And so the audience isn't here. But what about Elder Scrolls? Wow, it's same time. It is also like 8 o'clock, but we have an audience. We have a definite audience. It's a 10-year-old game. It is the weekend. It's a single player game. People can play it on Game Pass if you like on both console and PC. So people can play this fairly easily. It's only like $50, $50 just for the base mode. So it's pretty cheap. Isn't that crazy that more people are more interested in watching a 10-year-old game that's remastered? Because from everything that I've heard, it is exactly the same. They have not changed anything. They've just increased the quality of it, and that's it. So it's just interesting when we start talking about shills who are trying to gaslight people and just make it seem like a lot of people are excited for this game. The views, the data doesn't show that. And what's funny is that the first day was about 170K. And sure, you're like, oh, that's exciting, right? And then the next day it went down to 30K. It's just like, woo. People are like, is it going to be good? Okay.
And when trust in the mainstream media is at an all-time low, you can't even expect people to go to websites like The Gamer or Kotaku and Polygon and read about it without going, I wonder how much they were paid. And
you can go to Paul Tassi, though, in Forbes, because people don't like Paul because he continues to point out the graphics and he points out all these things that people don't want to hear. Like he's not afraid to point out the problems of Bungie. And people don't like him, even though Forbes is probably one of the most dominant journalism. And it has its ups and its downs. But I'm going to be honest. I like Paul for the fact that he's not afraid to throw out genuine reality of like the situation. People are like, oh, it's just very mixed. It's not mixed. It's overwhelmingly negative. You have a niche group of people that do like it.
So they decided to still release this closed alpha. And they faced some major competition. Oblivion Remastered obviously took the gaming industry by storm. There are millions of people playing that. They've said already 4 million players, which is really freaking good for them. But Player Obscure Expedition 33 is a game that did have quite a lot of hype leading up to release, but it has exceeded expectations given it's already sold over 500,000 copies 24 hours after release. And basically,
I think Bungie would be lucky to get that on just PC alone. I don't think they'll get there.
Everybody's talking about it. It is one of the highest rated video games of all time already. And well, Bungie could barely get together 7,000 people for this closed alpha. Now, I always think alphas are pretty stupid. This is just my opinion, but I think if your game is in an alpha state, you really should not be showing it off. It's like when companies
for another video, for the sake of another video I was going to do. This is why. Bungie was nervous about the lukewarm reception about the reveal. People were shitting on the gameplay. And so they removed the NDA because they were desperate for people to look at the game. And I think they have every reason to be worried. It is the weekend and no one wants to watch it. No one wants to watch it. And based on even on her gameplay, no one apparently who has access a chunk of people have already left because they don't even want to play it. However, I would view the audience, like the more people watch something, the more they're invested in something, the more likely they're to play. But if you don't even have an audience that's even interested enough to play, or sorry, interested enough to watch it, then they're never going to spend the $40 to play it. And here's the thing, even if it was popular, it's not like Oblivion where it has 4 million sold and it still has a massive following. It doesn't translate 1-to-1. Like you may have a lot of people who will watch Marathon, but they may not buy it. But in this case, I think there's going to be a lot of people who not only aren't going to buy it, but they're also not going to watch it unless it's their favorite streamer, in which case they could play any game and they would probably be there anyways.
Decide to officially announce a game when it's years and years away, like a Star Wars Eclipse. They announced that in 2021. It's not coming out until 2027, if it even hits that date. And we've already gotten a trailer for it. We got that trailer back in 2021. Really poor take. Same thing with Knights of the Old Republic remake. You know, that was announced years ago. We've heard nothing about it. It's probably a dead project at this point. Same with Wonder Woman. That Wonder Woman game that Monolith was working on, they announced it in 2020. It's now 2025. They only recently canceled it. I just think that developers need to stop announcing things so far in the future in such a ways away.
I think developers do that specifically to drive interest and to bring attention to them and their company to satisfy shareholders. I truly do think that gaming companies do very specific things to satisfy shareholders, and that is why you see them announce things way ahead of time. That's it. That's the only thing I can think of is shareholders.
But they can do what they want. They need to make investors happy. I get that.
Oh, yeah,
but
there
when
you go.
you are Bungie and you have probably hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into a revival the size of Marathon, you'd think that they could muster together some better player counts, but also more excitement because there is already a lot of backlash surrounding this club.
By the way, let's just talk about this. Two things. One, I think they specifically had never intended to have a massive population play this. It was considered alpha, not a beta. And then I want to roll back to that. This is an alpha. I didn't realize what that meant. And now that I know that an alpha is meant for a early development, and this thing's been cooking for 4 years, technically 6, and we have 5 months till release, this game is coming out in beta form. There is no shot that this game is in alpha currently, and in 5 months, it's going to go from alpha and straight into a finished product. There is absolutely no freaking way. Bungie is going to try to release this as a beta, and if maybe not in name, but in actuality, they're going to ship it as a beta, and they're going to have the community provide feedback, and they're going to build this game along. You're going on this journey, and I think that is going to kill Marathon. It will absolutely murder the sustainability of the game, the longevity. It may not be dead on arrival, but it's going to be dead on in existence because people are tired of having to fucking build your own game. No one wants to be a beta tester for a paid product. No one. And that's the problem with Bungie. They've been doing it with Destiny, and now they're thinking they can do it with Marathon, and they're going to fuck around and find out.
Closed alpha. This first article talks about how Bungie made a big change to the Marathon closed alpha because it was reportedly nervous about backlash.
I've already said what I need to say.
Bungie removed the restrictive NDA from Marathon's upcoming closed alpha, but we had heard that there were some content creators saying that they were told they needed to sign the NDA, but they were also still offered the opportunity to live stream it and to talk about it. So it seemed that the NDA was just kind of in place for anybody who broke their kind of trust, I guess we'll say, because companies generally trust people who are getting early access to something to talk about it positively. So it's...
Where's your evidence? Some creators. Who, where, when, where's the scripts? Where's it at? I'm sorry. I don't trust people who are in bed with Bungie, but I also don't trust generic statements as this, that some people have said this. Who? At least when I make points, I use the person and what they say. I actually pull up where I'm getting my sources from, and whether you think those sources are justified or not, that's the whatever. But we can't be making statements. Like, I even tell this in my debate kids, you can't just make general statements and not provide some kind of source or citation. Like, I could say Marathon, the developers say Marathon is going to come out with a full expansion raid. Wow, where's that at? I don't know.
Like, they wanted to protect their asses in case they didn't like what you said about the game, but also they still wanted people to bring a lot of attention to it. It says this is reportedly due to leadership being nervous about the mixed response to the gameplay reveal, and it's also reported that Marathon will cost $40, the same as Helldivers 2 and Concord. We're also hearing that Marathon...
Remember, if you talk about the price and that this is not a free-to-play game, you're broke. I think that's funny. By the way, I think it should, if you are not, this game is going to come out half cooked because there's no shot it's going from alpha to full release in 5 months. I think it is more acceptable if it's a live service game. If you are wanting the community to beta test, then it needs to be free. I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's acceptable, period. But I think people are going to be more acceptable if it's free. Just saying.
Apparently is going to launch with 6 characters, 3 maps, and 1 mode. That is what is being reported by Forbes and Paul Tassi. Of course, take everything with a hefty grain of salt, but that is really mediocre offerings for a $40 price tag.
It's god-awful.
Sony is like trying to normalize that price. I don't think it's going to work. A decade ago, Escape from Tarkov launched with $40 price tags, and Overwatch launched with a $40 price tag, but it's a decade later. Like, it's time to move on and understand what customers do and do not want to support at this point. Here's another article saying DOA, if they don't remove this, Marathon players aren't happy about a controversial mechanic in the closed alpha. It says Marathon's closed alpha is currently ongoing, and it's revealing that the game has some strong aim assist options that players, especially on PC, aren't really fans of. I understand also that aim assist is pretty popular on consoles, but on PC it's a very different story.
I've talked about this whole thing, and by the way, they're disabling this. They finally like, hey, yeah, we're disabling this, and people are praising Bungie, which is so funny. They're like, oh my god, they're listening to us. I'm not going to give praise to someone that started a fire. God, it's like someone set their house on fire, and then they put it out, and your wife is like, oh my God, I'm so happy you put the fire out. Oh, thank you. You're my hero. Even though you're the jackass that set the fire.
Although the idea of a new game from Bungie is undoubtedly exciting after the developer has spent most of its time and resources on Destiny over the past few years, it's safe to say that the reception to Marathon has been a little mixed since it was revealed. I always think it's so funny when the mainstream media tries to damage control. The reception has been overwhelmingly negative, at least from what I have seen.
No, you're right. You can see it on social media. You can see it on the viewership. You see it everywhere. It is negative. The free market has determined this game is not interesting enough. That's the reality. And it's not just media. It's literally the cult of Bungie that is trying so hard to push against this. And they're going to, unfortunately, fuck around and find out too.
Seen on social media. I mean, their teasers and trailers are all being negatively ratioed. Any discussion I really see is not positive. Like, there really isn't any hype here. It says
I'm curious. Well, I will look at it later. I'm not worried. I'm not too keen on seeing what we knew it was overly negative.
Though that reception didn't exactly get any better when the game's release and closed alpha dates were revealed a few weeks ago. And although Marathon's visuals and audio instantly impressed a lot of people, press X'd it out, its focus on extraction shooter mechanics and the big question mark surrounding its price point dulled its impact a bit. But over the past few days, Marathon's closed alpha has been live and it has been getting brutally wrecked. I mean, again, we have Claire Obscure Expedition 33's launch, Oblivion Remastered's Shadow drop, all behemoths in the industry, and Marathon can't really compete. It says the responses so far have been a bit on and off, with one of the emerging controversies being the game's use of aim assist and how OP it is. As you can see in the clip above from Twitter user Enders FPS, Marathon's aim assist is incredibly strong and turned on by default, which makes firefights incredibly easy for a lot of players. What is the point to make a game that is going to hold your hand? I get that if it's a story game, you have different difficulty.
I think that is a fair argument. People are like, but controller's too strong. Okay, well then tune the controller then. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense to give aim assist to mouse and keyboard. The benefits of mouse and keyboard is the movement and flexibility. Mouse and keyboard should never have aim assist and be attached to console players. And one of the big things I've seen in my comment section and just across the board in regard to this is that they need to just disable crossplay. That console players should never play with PC players. And when it comes to the fact that this is a PvP game, I would agree. Destiny, obviously there's PvE, all that stuff. But the fact that this is strictly just a PvP game, console should live in its own bubble away from PC.
Levels, so in case somebody wants to play as more of a, hardcore gamer and they want to die in 1 or 2 hits, or on the flip side, if you basically just want to go through the story, like all of these options should be available. But when we are talking about a multiplayer PvPvE game, we are talking about a title that's bread and butter is combat, right? Which I think majority of the game should be, but you end up adding a feature that makes the gameplay itself super easy. That's not exciting. Hearing that makes me not want to play it. Enders FPS pointed out that the game is DOA if the feature isn't removed, a sentiment that's shared by other players such as Twitter user Bikini Bodhi, who said it sealed the fact that they're not interested in Marathon. Now, I didn't have a lot of hype for it initially because, again, I would much rather them go back to the old Marathon formula and have it be more of like a sci-fi game.
That's another thing that I've heard. Well, I'm letting her talk more and me less. A lot of people have said they could have just did what Doom did. They could have just made a reboot and make it upgraded graphics, but keep the flavor of what the game was. But the problem is that would make it a single player game, though. Doom 2016 also had multiplayer where you loved or hated. I thought it was good, but they tried it. I think they canned it in Eternals. They didn't bother with it. But, I mean, we're also talking about Bungie, who knows how to do PvP. So to make a single-player campaign experience like Doom and then have a small PvP, I think they could have done it. They could have been like an arena shooter with kind of like what we have now, but it's an arena shooter. And that's probably, unironically, if they made a full Marathon, like kind of like Destiny, not obviously with preset weapons, right? Like no random. I think that's the biggest problem why Destiny is so hard is because random rolls. But this would be preset. You just play the game, the single player story, and then you have like your arena shooter, like kind of like Halo. This could have been Marathon could have been the Halo for Bungie again. Now that I think about it, it makes no sense that they don't follow the same formula as Halo because it works. Build a badass story, campaign, which we know that they've done it in the past with Destiny. Not everything is a banger, especially their seasonal content, but they've made some good story campaigns. They could easily do it Marathon, and the fact that Marathon, they could reboot it, make a whole different story, or they could follow the old games, but they doesn't have the restrictions of Destiny. huh, why didn't they just, it really is kind of like, why didn't they just do it like a Halo? But it would be marathon. Huh.
Game, but I'm still willing to give things a try, especially on this channel, because I'm a gaming live streamer. So it's part of my job. But hearing that there's like this auto aim assist that is super OP,
It's
I
disabled.
personally will not even give it any kind of benefit of the doubt or test it if they do not remove this feature. And well, they're going to need all the help they can get. They're going to need all the sales they can get. If they only really have 7,000 people that they are offering codes to, and in-game right now, is 1,273, which is pretty terrible. Now, of course, we have seen a lot of modern audience slop.
Again, I'm not going to give a lot of flack for an alpha. I'm sorry, like, this is data, but compared to a full release, this is a nothing. Whereas viewership is free, you don't have to fight to get a code. Like, I would look at the viewership that this game is getting overall, like on Twitch and YouTube, and it's almost nothing, which says volumes. So at least from a interest of, do I want to watch this? It's non-existent.
Release over the past couple of years, and I know people are calling this Concord 2.0, and to be honest, it does feel a little bit similar from the gameplay that we've seen. The generic maps and the gunplay also doesn't look all that special. So I think that
the gunplay is your cookie cutter Destiny gameplay. It is literally, they could release a crossover with Destiny and give it Destiny skins, and it would look and play just like Destiny. The only thing that's different is the hero shooter aspects of the abilities, but it is essentially Destiny gunplay. And either you love it or you hate it. Destiny has a niche community, so obviously gunplay alone is not bringing the masses to play Destiny. And so you look at Marathon and say, well, the gunplay couldn't keep, Destiny successful. And it's not successful, it is just surviving. It's not going to do the same thing for Marathon, unfortunately.
They're going to need all the help they can get and all of the hype that they can, and as many people talking about this game as possible. But if they do not start changing these very important systems within this title, it is 100% going to be DOA.
Expedition beats peak player counts of slop like Shadows. Okay, well, I don't know about that. I don't even know what Claire Obscura is. But let's be honest, they have already made changes. Should they do it? Absolutely. Like, it's nothing new. Like, first off, this is alpha, which is funny. That's the whole point of alphas, is to test it and change things. I think it's a dumb excuse to say that it was okay for them to test high, like, aimbot, and that's what it was. No one in their bright mind, and no one in their right mind would be like, yeah, no, this aim assist is fine. Or, hey, whenever you kill someone and they're res fully back to life, they have full health. That was another thing that made no sense. It's like, who's making this game? Do they even play video games? That's my thought. Again,
but that's all.
Her video's down below. I'm gonna just give it the like as a courtesy like. Her hyping, her like focus on this. Sorry, that's just not a good enough argument for me. And the whole, well, this streamer says this and you gotta blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I always take stuff like that with a grain of salt. I base things on like what I can tangibly use as data versus what they said versus what I say. And just, I don't know. Anyways, the link to the video will be down below. Check it out for yourself. Like the video or subscribe to their channel. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. And what do you think? If you watched the gameplay, was it good enough to get you? Because it looks like just Destiny PvP to me. As always, I'll